My name is Ann, and I know that you listened to my children earlier today describe how their experience affected them. Now I want to tell you how it affected me. At 11:30 at night, my two eldest children were pulled from my home. My daughter was 14, my son was 16. The night before that, I had to go through my twin children being removed from my home. In the space of 24 hours, I lost all 4 of my children to the state of Texas. I had no idea what was going to happen next. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I spent the better part of the next morning trying to find out where the adversary hearing, for that is what they call it in the state of Texas, would be held, and no one would tell me. I had the lucky experience of having a constable show up at my door, detailing exactly what the whole thing was about. I had to shell out $2,500 for a lawyer so that my rights could be protected in any way, shape, or form. The first devastation that a family feels when they are faced with this particular issue is financial. You will always face financial devastation, from legal fees, from lost hours at work. I think within the first 6 weeks, I lost a total of 40 work hours. Now, I happen to have a very good job, and that job afforded me that time off, but I still had to make it up. I used vacation time, I used sick time. I still lost 40 hours of my life. I sat in an empty house. My insomnia got steadily worse. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. The second devastation that a family feels when they're experiencing this is emotional. My children weren't home. I didn't know where they were. I didn't know what they were feeling. It took 3 weeks for the Department of Child and Family Services in the state of Texas, in Collin County and Dallas County, to arrange a 1-hour visitation with my children. 3 weeks. During that 3 weeks, I discovered that my children had been exposed to things that I would never have exposed my children to. They were exposed to the foul language that we never had in our home. They were exposed to the drug culture that was never found in our home. I came to find that my son had his ears pierced twice by another child in the home. I came to find that my child was shabbily dressed, unclean. My 16-year-old son cried for the first half of our 1-hour visit. My 16-year-old son. I never got to see my twins again. The legal issues that surrounded that, because we had to move from one county to another, prevented it. Ours was a unique case. Our next visit, the week later, My son had his ears pierced yet again by another child in the home. Was again shabbily dressed. Was again using foul language. When I pointed it out yet again to the caseworker, she said, "I'll look into it." I had my hair shorn for a drug test. I've never done drugs in my entire life. I've never even smoked a cigarette. I had to spend parenting classes on the weekends. I had to spend non-offending parent sexual abuse classes in the evenings. It was probably good that I didn't sleep or didn't eat. I certainly didn't have time for it. I had a scrapbook, my pictures of my children. I set it down one day and I couldn't find it. Sent me into a tailspin. The emotional abuse was so bad that a parent experiences when they go through this. It's no wonder that a good portion of them actually do commit suicide. I did finally get my children back, but only by becoming a single parent at the behest of the state. The state essentially made me a single parent, dependent upon them for what I needed. They received more from my son while he was in care than he received on his own SSI. During the time that he ran away, they continued to receive that SSI. And I would have been required to pay it back had I not fought tooth and nail to have SSI contact as CPS and make them do it. One morning, after my children had come home, both of my children were so traumatized by the experience that they wouldn't go out of the house. My son called me to tell me that there was a police officer and a DCFS employee standing across the street from my home taking pictures. I was so scared, I rushed out of my place of employment. I ran home. I picked up my children and I was ready to leave the house. I called the police office and they told me that they were taking pictures of the house next door. The emotional constraints that you're placed under when you experience this are tantamount to emotional abuse. I could not live in that state again. 2 months later, I left. Myself and my children have been subject to abuse from my husband's family. We've been subject to abuse from friends of the family. My children will never be the same. They are not the same children that they picked up. They did not make a victim, though. They made an activist. My children are not now and never will be a cash cow for the state.